Hello, everybody. Welcome. Let me tell you a little bit about our event today. So my name is Anna Brechschneider. I'm the sponsorship manager for Latinas in Tech. I'm based in San Francisco, California, and my pronouns are she, her, and ella. Before we begin, I want to say thank you to our sponsors today, Workday, and their entire team to collaborate with us to make this happen. And of course, I want to thank you to taking the time and participating in today's event. I'm really excited to learn a little more about our wonderful panel we have here today. But before, let me tell you a little bit about Latinas in Tech. Our mission is to ensure that Latinas are not just well represented in the tech industry, but they are also thriving, innovating, and moving the corporate ladder. We do this by building programs and events focused on professional development, recruitment, and mentorship. We have over 16,000 folks now in the entire network. Please feel free to create an account in latinasintech.org and join the movement. But before we started, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping so you all feel good about this platform. Maybe for some of you, the first time you're using Hopin, but I want to make sure that we all understand. So on the left side of your screen, you will find the navigation menu. So it will take you to room. So you have reception, main stage, session, and expo. You will see a red like now label when the rooms are open and live. To communicate with each other, please remember to use the event chat and use a Q&A for questions you may have. And with that, I will pass the microphone to Andrea Ruiz, who will be sharing with us a little bit more about Workday.
Hello, everyone. It's been fun looking at the chat. We've got people from Spain, Mexico, all over the United States. So I am honored to be with you guys today. We can go through to the next slide. 2 more, please. So I wanted to start off with just my road in technology, which actually started, we can go 1 more, sorry about that, which actually started over 40 years ago when I took my first computer class in high school. And I got hooked. Love the feeling of being able to solve a problem by writing code and never looked back. But I will say the journey wasn't easy. I remember starting my computer science degree in college and being up all night in the computer lab. And those labs were hard. And although I started the program with several women, many of them dropped out of the program. So I was left as one of the few female women that completed a computer science degree at Iowa State. So, and I also remember working many years as a VP at Oracle, and 7 years ago, taking a job at Workday as a senior director. And mentors tried to talk me out of it, saying, it's a step down in job title. But I knew that if I performed well, that I would have just as much opportunity at Workday. So today I'm privileged to lead the engineering services team at Workday, which is an organization of over 1,000 workmates. And the majority of my team is part of a shared service across our whole product organization. And we've got the amazing mission to ensure that we create a world-class product organization at Workday. And we can go ahead to the next slide. So I want to give you a little bit more context of who Workday is, our values, how we vibe, and we'll talk a little bit more of what vibe is at Workday, and then specifically our Latinx Ebc. So 1 more slide, please. So for those of you who haven't heard about Workday, you're probably wondering, who's Workday? And I'll start off by saying we're a leading provider of enterprise cloud applications for finance and human resources. And we help customers adapt and thrive in a changing world. And boy, has the world changed in the last 18 months. Our products have been adopted by thousands of organizations around the world and across industries from medium-sized businesses to more than 50% of the Fortune 500. Some of our marquee customers include FedEx, Target, Netflix, and it's pretty cool to work for a company that enables Netflix to close their books every month. So our products include financial management, human capital management, enterprise planning, spend management, talent management. So you can see we have a full suite of products that customers can use to run their business. We serve more than 9,000 customers globally, which represents over 55 million workers that use Workday. We are extremely proud to have a 97% customer satisfaction rating, of one of the highest in our industry. And we serve many industries, including higher education, financial services, government, healthcare, professional services, retail and hospitality, and technology, among others. And we are constantly recognized as a leader in our space. So we can go ahead to the next slide, please. So I show this. We are very, we care a lot about Workday's values. And you can see them here. I'm not going to run through each one of them. But I will say 7 years ago when I joined Workday, this was the primary reason why I joined Workday. We take these values seriously, and they are exemplified every day at Workday with how we approach our work, how we treat our customers and our employees. And so you can see here, it really is what makes Workday an endearing company, and one that I am thrilled to be a part of. So let's go to the next slide. I'm going to talk a little bit about how we vibe. And so let me start by saying that at Workday, employee diversity, and this includes backgrounds, experiences, perspectives, insights, skills, it fuels innovation and creates a broader connection to the world. And we aspire to be the best workplace in which all workmates are valued for their unique perspective, and collectively, everyone contributes to Workday's success. So VIBE stands for value, inclusion, belonging, and equity. And for all, and it's our belonging and diversity strategy at Workday. So we believe a supportive and inclusive workplace where people are valued, heard, inspired, and encouraged to bring their best selves to work is the key to an enduring company. Our focus on VIBE is integrated into everything that we do, and that is recruiting, building our products, data analytics, development, and career advancement. So let's move on and start talking about some of the commitments that we've made with VIBE. We can go to the next slide. So you can see, hire and developing diverse talent. We take our role as the HR software provider for some of the world's largest organizations with great responsibility. And we will continue to develop and deliver products that help empower Workday and our customers to accelerate belonging and diversity. So what are our actions in this area? We empower our customers via product and solution innovations to measure and benchmark diversity and belonging in the workplace. We offer workshop services at no charge for our first 300 customers deploying our VIBE Central. And then we publish a biannual belonging and diversity product roadmap for our customers to highlight innovative solutions. Now, for cultivating a culture of belonging, while recruiting the best diverse talent is a critical step, it's just as important to create a culture of belonging once someone joins, where our workmates can bring their best selves and have a sense of purpose, trust, connection, and growth. So we ensure that there's less than a 3% difference in belonging for all workmates across all demographics. We infuse VIBE into how we think about and act on our Workday core value. And we invest 150,000 hours in career development programs and education that increase visibility and opportunity for Black and Latinx talent over the next year. So I said we were a software provider, but how do we build software inclusive products and technology? And this is something that, as I said, we take very seriously. And we continue to develop and deliver products that help empower Workday and our customers to accelerate their belonging and diversity initiatives. And what are our actions at Workday? Our action is to increase overall representation of Black and Latinx employees in the US by 30% by 2023. We want to double the number of Black and Latinx leaders in the US by 2023. And we're investing 25,000 hours in training over the next year to help ensure all people leaders can attract, recruit, hire, and advance employees of all backgrounds. In strengthening our communities, we know that to truly have an impact, we need to expand our efforts beyond Workday and must support policies, practices, and organizations that help empower underrepresented minorities through meaningful investment and engagement. And what are our actions? We're donating $10 million, as previously announced, to social justice initiatives over the next year. We're creating opportunity for our workmates to contribute 250,000 hours towards mentoring and skills-based volunteering in communities around the globe. And we're accelerating our Opportunity On-Ramps program to fill 20% of our early to mid-year full-time roles by 2023. So let's talk just a little bit about our belonging councils. We can go to the next slide, please. So at Workday, we call our Workday EBCs, Employee Belonging Councils, and they're employee organized affiliations focused on communities of interest and critical in the success of Vibe. And by way of their engagements, members build a Vibe culture and a community of knowledge, development, and growth. EBCs provide a safe space for members, foster ideation and innovation, as well as enable business initiatives, provide development, and engage in community outreach activities. Our EBCs are open to all employees, and you can see here the EBCs that we have at Workday. Additionally, EBCs establish strategic partnerships inside and outside the organization. So let's talk about the Latinx EBC. We can go to the next slide, which was established in 2016. And the mission of the Latinx EBC is to empower and support the Latinx talent in order to strengthen and maintain that culture of belonging at Workday that I've been talking about. And our goal is to support Latinx team members through professional development, community involvement, and cultural experiences. We actively participate in the recruitment of Latinx talent, community empowerment, and outreach projects, connecting Workday with the Latinx community, and periodic social events. You can see some of the pictures here from some of those fun events. And I'm privileged to be one of the executive sponsors at Workday, alongside Chano, who's our Workday co-CEO. And this group is doing amazing things in creating that sense of a belonging at Workday. So we can go to the next slide. So hopefully this has given you some context of what we do here at Workday, why Workday is a special company leader in the industry. I'm grateful for the opportunity to share the thoughts with you. I hope this event is beneficial for all of you. I'm sure it will be, and that we'll have another opportunity to connect with Latinas at Tech in the future. So the next slide has a barcode on it. And if you wanted to scan that, this will give the job openings at Workday, so you can see what kind of opportunities are there. That QR code will get you there. And enjoy the panel on imposter syndrome. I will end it by saying all of us probably can relate to this topic. It's one that I am very passionate about, so I'm excited to listen into the panel along with all of you. So thanks again.
All right. Hello, everyone. We are so happy to have you here today. And we are excited to share this panel discussion with you where you can learn more about conquering your imposter syndrome and advancing your career. And thanks to Andrea for that beautiful and awesome presentation. I know that the four of us love being at Workday. Our plan for today is to have an open dialogue with Ingrid, Mariana, and Teresa about imposter syndrome. But before we jump into their stories, I'd like to quickly define imposter syndrome because some of us may be feeling it today or have felt it in the past and not really was sure what that feeling was. So imposter syndrome includes not feeling smart despite academic or professional accomplishments. which could also mean that numerous achievements do not change the belief of being an imposter. Feelings of being over-evaluated by colleagues and the fear that eventually some significant person will discover that they are an imposter. Imposter syndrome sufferers can experience anxiety, lack of self-confidence, depression, and frustration, and that's just to name a few. So I am so honored to be your moderator today. My name is Monica Grochin. I'm a customer success manager at Workday, and I've been with Workday for almost 3 years. At Workday, we do love our fun facts, so I thought I'd share a few with you. I am first generation American. I am second generation in tech and third generation college grad. So now to introduce to you our bright and inspiring panelists. Ingrid, do you mind introducing yourself, telling us how long you've been at Workday, and sharing a fun fact?
Happy to. Thanks so much. I'm so honored to be here. Hi, everyone. I'm Ingrid Franzen, and I lead strategic planning here at Workday. And I've been with the company about 3.5 years. Some fun facts about me is that I'm originally from Puebla, Mexico, and I'm a huge family history buff, and I love tracing the generations and details behind my Latin heritage.
Thanks, Ingrid. Mariana, do you mind sharing the same?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Mariana Santiago. I am general manager for one of our product lines here at Workday. I have been with Workday for more than 5 years now, and it has been an amazing ride. And a couple of fun facts. I was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina. I came to US 20 years ago, and during my 20 years in United States, I have had 2 boys. I have 2 teenagers who I love with all my heart. So when I am not at work, I am always to do things with them, although they are at that age where sometimes they don't want to do so many things with mom. But I'm very proud of my 2 boys.
Thanks, Mariana. And Teresa, introduce yourself and a fun fact, please.
Yes, Teresa DeBar. I am a people partner leader here at Workday. I've been here 3 years. And my fun fact is that my abuela is cousins with Santana. Unfortunately, they're not close. So I have no backstage passes, but I do go to his concerts all the time whenever I can. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Thanks, Teresa. And for the folks listening in, if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat and hopefully we can get to them at the end. All right. So I think it would be great to start with some stories about imposter syndrome. And over the last 2.5 years of being involved with our Latinx Employee Belonging Council, I've seen and heard that first generation Latinas in tech can sometimes be daunting because they're the first people in their family to take on a new task or role. So Ingrid, in a role that you've taken in the past, have you experienced imposter syndrome when taking on a new task or assignment?
Absolutely, Monica. I think, imposter syndrome is something that I've experienced at many different points in my career, candidly, and something that I even expect in the future as I take on new and unfamiliar responsibilities. But I think the important part is really having a strategy to help overcome some of those very uncomfortable feelings. So maybe I can start with an imposter syndrome example from some time ago. Likely early in career is when it was really acute for me. And while I was off to a really strong start, taking on new roles, additional scope, I eventually got tapped for a position that was well outside of my comfort zone. And I'm not sure if others can relate, but I had that feeling where your stomach just drops. My reaction to being tapped for the role was that they had tapped the wrong person, that I didn't have all the skills that I was reading in the job description. And I had a lot of anxiety of if I would be able to not just meet the needs of the role, but ultimately disappoint this executive that had so much faith in me. So the way I resolved it was I took some time and I stepped back. And I had the realization that this leader was looking for more from me than just what was on the paper. I was more than the accumulation of my specific subject matter expertise or examples of what I'd done in the past. They were counting on me to lead through ambiguity, bring creative problem solving, and lend team leadership to the challenge at hand, not just specific skills. So I think the important thing there was I decided to be my own champion. focus on the strengths that I could bring to the table and not over rotate on things that I didn't have as strong a background in, and look to others to partner with to resolve some of those challenges. Ultimately, I did accept the position, and I'm grateful that I did, not just because I rose up to the challenge, but the role I took on ended up being a gateway position to a much wider set of leadership positions in my career. And if I had let that initial lack of self-belief hold me back, I definitely wouldn't be where I am today, many years later. So the whole experience really taught me to trust in hard work, trust in the fact that I can troubleshoot and problem solve on the fly, and that having a strategy to cope with those uneasy feelings could really take me far along in my journey.
And Ingrid, I think as a Latina woman, sometimes we feel alone in a situation like that. So did you ever feel alone, and what did you do in that situation?
Absolutely. I think that feeling of being alone or being kind of out of the loop is not uncommon, especially for not just Latinas, but women in tech and other groups as well. Anytime we're entering an unfamiliar space, it can bring up those feelings of lack of confidence, or, maybe starting to question, can I do this? With my career in particular, it's been heavily aligned to infrastructure. And so I was often the only woman, the only Latina, the only business major in a heavy engineering organization, and so forth. And so as I thought about that, sometimes that created a sense of reinforcing that belief that I didn't belong. But the way I tackled that was really shifting my mindset. Rather than focusing on being the only, I tried to really reimagine things as being the first. And so with that, it's given me a broader purpose to be a champion for other Latinx talent, women in tech, and other underrepresented groups. And that's really given me the wind beneath my wings to take on, anxiety-causing opportunities and really take big risks. So giving back has given me a wider purpose overall, and it's made me a better leader. Thanks, Monica.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ingrid. That is so inspiring, and thank you for sharing that story. And I think it's important to know that imposter syndrome never goes away. It may fade away. And it's not just a feeling in our professional life, it could be a feeling in our personal life too. So Mariana, I have two questions for you. Have you experienced that feeling before, and what motivates you to keep moving forward?
Yes, I have felt the feeling many times, and similar to Ingrid was saying, that feeling of doubting yourself or doubting your abilities. And they usually came to me at moments when I was taking on new challenges. Am I ready for this? Can I do this? Am I the right person? Probably there are people who are more prepared to take on this. So the way I think about it, and this is my own interpretation, honestly, is part of being a good professional is having awareness. And that awareness sometimes kicks off with that feeling, right? It's like if we aware of how much else you can do, or the things that you have to grow into. But at the same time, in my case, it brings what I call adrenaline in a good sense. Is that energy? Yes, I can do it. Yes, I know I can learn this, or I know I can take on this new challenge. And that is what I think allowed me to grow over time. The example that first comes to mind for me was the first time I needed to go on the big stage. I led product management organizations for many years. And as part of that job, you have to go on stage and present. And the first time I needed to do it, I was shaking. And I remember feeling, I don't have the skills. I cannot do it. English is my second language. I will make mistakes. And obviously, as you can imagine, I super practiced and prepared for that presentation. I always say practice makes perfection. And I did it. I think I did a good job at that point. Obviously, you get better and better with experience and with practice. but experience helps you realizing that self-doubt is, everybody feels it at some point. The thing is how you overcome it, and not stop. It doesn't have to stop you from taking on those new challenges. You can do it. And what worked for me in particular is having people who can always push you, who can always say, yes, you can do it, that they become your cheerleaders. And early in my career, my mom was my cheerleader number one. And I think that part of the person I am today is because of how she was my cheerleader and the strength that she kind of infused in me. And later on in my career was having good mentors, having good friends, people who, when you are having those moments of doubt, that they are the ones who make you feel like, yes, you can do it, and they become your sounding board. But you're not alone. I think I read once that 70% of people feel imposter syndrome at some point in their career. So it is normal. It's super normal. And it's more about how you can overcome it. Experience helps. Nowadays, it's not that I don't ever feel it. I do once in a while, but guess what? I know I can do it. So I keep going.
Yeah, thank you. And the story that you shared with us, is this the stage that you were on where you felt that feeling of imposter syndrome?
No, this one, the picture that you see on the screen, was just more recent, before the pandemic. And although you cannot see anybody in the audience, I swear there were people in the audience. It was one of the conferences at Workday, the conference that we call Rising. So that's where I don't have many pictures, to be honest, Monica. So this picture was taken by a coworker.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I know the audience that comes with our conference Rising, I bet that there were a lot of people in the audience. And honestly, I wish we were in person right now so we could all show our hands, so I can ask how many of us have felt imposter syndrome, because I know I have. And like you said, 70% of people. So hopefully I'll see a show of hands in the chat, because I know most of us have. So thank you, Mariana. Thanks for sharing.
Sure.
And Teresa, so there is a popular saying, and you may have heard this before, fake it till you make it. And sometimes that can lead to a sinking feeling of imposter syndrome. So from your experience, do you have a story where you've had or experienced that sinking feeling?
Yes. Yeah, that is very much a popular saying. And I have a story where not only have I experienced this many times, I have a story where I got to marinate in that feeling for an extended period of time. So let me set the stage. I had just been promoted. So I went up a level and I took on a totally different role. So it was almost like a double whammy of change. And I attended this best practice kind of session. It was a 4-hour meeting. And it was for, people partners. And you can just imagine this big room of people. And they started sharing their stories about the challenges that they were facing and how they, did some analysis and best practice, really dug into their challenge and came up with solutions that were really creative. And I'm watching the room and everyone's like shaking their head and contributing to the conversation and, asking really smart questions. And I was just thinking, oh my gosh, I don't know what they're talking about. It was like being in an advanced math class and I had basic math thinking, how in the heck am I going to do the homework, right? And so in that situation, I, really dug deep. I bought a bunch of books. I found mentors. I took a certification class. It took time, right? And probably about a year of really investing and grinding, on that learning. And so, in hindsight, what I would say is fake it till you make it's not adequate, because you also have to do the work in parallel, right? And, my best advice is make your belief in now, right? Make your belief in what you already know, the talents that you have, and also make that commitment to learn what you need to for tomorrow. And I think there's a third thing that's really important, which is having that support network. Who's that one person or that special person that you can be vulnerable with and who will give you that support. And for me, that's my husband. He's my greatest supporter. And, the one behind the scenes when, who gets to see what I go through. Right. And several years ago, my husband called me out. He's like, do you know that you have this cycle, where you're in your role and then you get really comfortable and then you get uncomfortable that you're so comfortable. And then you get bored and you go for the next opportunity and then you freak out and you agonize. And I watch you go through this every time. And so I'm like, oh crap, you're right. There is this cycle that I'm going through. And once I realized that that was kind of a repeating thing, it really kind of helped shed light that I could make a different choice. Like, of course, the stress is always going to be there, but I don't necessarily have to approach it with fear. I've had so many successes before. I can do it again, right? And so I don't think this feeling ever goes away, but it definitely dulls out. It softens over time.
Right. Thank you. Yes, I can relate. My husband is also my biggest support system. And Mariana, like you said, my mother has always been my number one fan and also greatest supporter. So Teresa, thank you. Thanks for sharing. So for the three of you guys, or ladies, I would like to ask before we open it up to the audience, are there any practical tips that you would share with us so we can learn how to conquer imposter syndrome if we feel it next time? And I'll open it up to the three of you.
I can go first. I think that perhaps, I don't know if it's a tip, Monica, but yeah. I think is first, recognize that is normal. So don't feel like, oh, this is happening to me and I have an issue. No, it's normal. So I think that starting with that kind of recognition and awareness is number one. And number two for me, and that this perhaps is kind of in the category of tip, is have those mentors or friends or that support network that Teresa was talking about. I think that makes a huge difference. Because knowing that you will go through that feeling, you need someone, and if it's your husband or if it's your mentor or if it's your partner, whoever that person is, because we all need that word of encouragement at that point. And that's enough. That word of encouragement is enough to keep you going and to get the energy that you need to say, okay, yes, I can do this. And the third one, perhaps, and Teresa touched on it, and I always love hearing Teresa and Ingrid talk because they are amazing with their stories and how much they share. I think is you have to, obviously you have to put the work into it. You have to prep, you have to study, you have to do whatever is needed to do it the best way possible. So I think that's the part that probably we have all done too, is you will put the effort to make it work.
Right. Yeah, I love that. The one thing I would add is I'm really big on visualization, right? And like this idea of the fake it till you make it sounds maybe disingenuous or like cheating or whatever. But this idea of like, if I were amazing in this role, like what would that look like? How would I behave? It's almost like I think about it like a jacket. It's kind of weird, but I'm like, okay, I'm going to put on my, like, I'm an expert at this jacket and like I'm wearing the jacket and like, what would change? Like, how would I behave? What would my body language look like? What would my, how would I be performing? Right. I think that's a really key thing for me. And the other thing I would say is focusing in on progress, right? So you can't necessarily have it all. You can't have all the expertise just like that. But if you can focus on how you're making progress, that can help kind of give you that, the wind beneath your wings as you're learning on that journey.
Those are awesome suggestions, Teresa and Mariana. Those definitely resonate with me, and I've tried it, some of those myself. I think some other suggestions or tips that I would offer the wider community, and maybe this is how I'm wired, and I joke with Teresa about this, I like to look at the data and the patterns. And so I happen to be highly involved in metrics and analytics. So that's where my mind goes. When I'm really feeling those uncomfortable feelings of, I'm going to be found out, or what if I can't hit it? I take a big step back and I look at the data. How did I solve or resolve this last time? What were some of my go-to approaches for getting either the assistance or increasing my learning, or what type of classes did I take to catch up and then feel more confident? I think, Teresa, I loved your story about kind of this repetitive pattern you have about getting comfortable, wanting to take a risk, getting anxious, and then moving forward. If you can be self-aware that that's your pattern and recognize it in yourself, it gives you much more peace of mind that, oh, I'm in the first step, or I'm in the last step of that process, and it's something that you can just accept and move on from. I think the last thing I would just offer, and it kind of ties back to what Mariana was sharing, is that this feeling is so normal, but it's also temporary if we try not to mull it over or kind of feed that anxiety. Being able to let it pass through and move on just like it came can be really liberating versus kind of stewing and churning on all the things that could go wrong. Focus on what could go right. I love the jacket idea. Put on your superhero jacket of what it could be, and take steps towards that outcome versus staying in that very uncomfortable and uneasy feeling of what if I can't, or what if I don't deliver. So just some suggestions for today.
Yeah, thanks, Ingrid. And with that, I want to open it up to the audience, the people in the chat. I haven't seen any questions so far, just a lot of really positive comments and thanking you for your story. So does anyone have any questions that they can quickly type? We only have a few minutes left, so I just want to make sure that these ladies can give you the feedback or tips, suggestions that you may need. Hopefully everyone's typing away really fast. Okay, well, let's see. I was not checking the right place. All right, I will start from the bottom. So what is your advice to career changers trying to change or trying to transition into tech? Someone who may not have an computer engineering business degree, what is your tips, advice for someone trying to change?
Maybe I can jump in there because that's been a big area of passion for me. One of the things that really differentiates Workday in particular, but I'm sure many companies also do the same, is that we partner with a wide array of organizations that are really looking to help folks make those very important career transitions, even coming from a non-tech background. Some you may be familiar with include Europe, for example, just as one maybe familiar program in that space, but certainly there's room in tech for any type of background. It's so important that we are inclusive and really be inclusive and focused on diversity as we hire. And sometimes having a specific engineering background or engineering degree isn't relevant for the roles at hand. So it's really up to us as leaders to be looking at expanding the diversity of our talent pools. And I would encourage you to be looking at a wide array of roles that might have some great transition opportunity into tech, or get engaged with some of those programs that are directly aligned to building those bridges to connect talent with opportunity.
Awesome. Thanks, Ingrid. And I think I want to do, one question per person, if you don't mind. Teresa, you did mention some books earlier that you prepped with. Do you have any off the top of your head that you would recommend to the people in the audience?
Oh, well, in that example, I was talking about the actual subject matter I was missing.
Oh, okay.
I don't know that there's any really good books out there on this idea of imposter syndrome. I'm sure there probably are, but that wasn't what I was referring to.
Okay, no problem. So intimidation, if it stops you in your tracks, I know we kind of touched on this a little bit during the panel, but how can you overcome the intimidation or feeling the feeling of being frozen?
What do you want that one answer by?
Oh, up to you, Teresa or Mariana.
Teresa, do you want to go first?
That's a great question. Nothing's coming to mind right off the top of my head on that one. Mariana, do you have any thoughts?
I think that if someone feels intimidated, first is understanding the why. What is triggering that intimidation? Is it the challenge? Is there anything else going on? And I would say I am perhaps as analytical as Ingrid. I try to first understand the why or what could be causing that, to then analyze what are the possible courses of action, right? Is it that I have to get help and talk to someone else? Is it I have to, if someone is making me feel that way, do I have to discuss something with that person? If it's myself who is kind of triggering that feeling. So it's perhaps analyzing kind of the root cause first to then determine what you could do next. In many cases, what has been beneficial for me is to chat with other colleagues, to chat with others to say, hey, this is what I am feeling, this is what I am. Obviously, you have to have that relationship of trust, right, to be able to do it. But then I always came up with ideas to how to overcome it. And sometimes those ideas were triggered by conversations I had.
Yeah, thanks, Mariana. And I think that this might be our last question. There are several questions about finding a mentor or finding a mentee. So maybe if the three of you want to just touch on it quickly, what is it in a mentor that you're looking for? Or you can also answer the question, what is it in a mentee that you're looking for?
I can start with that one. I think that that mentorship relationship, there has to be a chemistry, right? And when I'm looking for a mentor, I'm looking for someone who inspires me, right? Somebody who maybe has skills and capabilities that I want to gain, or they just have a perspective that really, gives me like energy, and I want to feed off of that energy. So I think finding somebody that really like kind of speaks to you or really inspires you is a really big thing. I think when I'm looking at a mentee, I'm looking for somebody that I have this like feeling I want to help them grow. I'm really impressed with their capabilities, and I can see their potential, and that gets me really excited. And so I find myself gravitating to people who have that spark, and I'm really vested in helping them.
I think you really hit the mark, Teresa. I think a lot of those themes resonated with me. I love the way you offered the term perspective. I think that's what mentorship is all about. Someone that can give you maybe an alternate perspective, and most importantly, give you a candid perspective of maybe sharing things in a way that you hadn't realized, or it didn't occur to you. So having that trust to have that really direct, open, trusting type of conversation on an ongoing basis can help you grow much more rapidly than the subtle cues you may get from those around you. For me, as I mentor, and I'm so passionate in that space as well, I'm just really looking for that curiosity, someone that's eager to just learn and grow with me, because they give as much to me as I get from them. So always very excited about those opportunities.
The only thing I would add, and I think Teresa covered it all, is if you have to choose a mentor, you have to, or you're planning on reaching to someone, I think that the personal connection matters. And Teresa was talking about that. You need to feel that you can go and have a coffee with that person, that you like chatting also about life, not just professional stuff. Because at the end of the day, the best mentors I have had were the ones who knew me as a person, not just as a professional, right? That they knew what I care about, what I like doing. And they were the best ones asking me the hardest questions. And usually when they were asking me the questions, I was thinking, why is that I didn't think of that before, right? So that connection matters for you to establish that kind of relationship. And with the mentees is, for me, about how to help And I don't consider myself, when people approach me and say, can you be my mentor? For me, it's more, can I help in any way? I try to do what my mentors did with me. I can ask you questions and try to see how I can help. Do you need that encouragement? Do you need that push? Is any of my experience perhaps beneficial and I can share, right? But seeing that energy I need to see, like Teresa, when I see that spark in people and that energy, and like, I love it. It's like, it's contagious. It's like I take part of that energy too.
Yeah. And one more thing I would say, especially if you're asking for a mentor, be prepared. Like, that is super impressive. When someone comes and approaches me and they thought through what they want to work on and they're really clear, like, that is super like exciting. And I think, you're going to get a lot more out of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I really appreciate this conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your stories and being vulnerable and sharing some tips at the end. I really do appreciate it. And thank you for listening, everyone in the audience. We really appreciate you being here and being part of this. So now I'm going to turn it back to Ana with Latinas in Tech, and she will close us out so we can move forward with the breakout sessions. Again, thank you so much. Really appreciate everyone.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much. This was wonderful. I cannot feel more identified with all of the speakers. This was really, really helpful, really great tips, amazing advices. I think everybody in this event feel like we're getting a lot of this. Thank you again. So now we're going to be moving to our sessions, breakout sessions. So feel free now. You see on the menu on the left side, it's open now, the sessions. So after we move the sessions, we'll be open the expo booth when you can also visit the booths for Workday, interact and talk to some of the teams representing there. So thank you very much. We'll now be back to the main stage after that. When you are all done, when you finish having conversations that you need to interact with all the different activations, please, feel free to leave the event. But thank you very much again to be participating and be taking the time today to be here. So we see you on the sessions there. Thank you.